Dr. Kyle Morrison stood at the entrance of the International Galactic Studies Institute and watched the transport shuttle descend from the cloudy sky. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council, and he still felt a small thrill every time he saw alien technology in action. The shuttle landed without a sound on the designated platform, its smooth silver surface reflecting the morning sun. Lauren Hayes, his graduate student and teaching assistant, stood beside him with a tablet in her hands. She had spent the last 2 months preparing for this moment. 20 alien students from 12 different worlds were about to step onto Earth's soil for a full semester exchange program. They would study Earth's ecosystem, culture, and biology. At least, that was the official purpose of the program. Kyle knew the real reason. The Galactic Council still considered Earth a backwater planet. They called it a garden world, soft and gentle compared to their own homeworlds. The exchange program was meant to educate humanity about the dangers of the wider galaxy. What the Council did not realize was that the education might flow in the opposite direction. The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss. The first student to emerge was Vexnal, a Crithian. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with blue-gray skin covered in what looked like natural armor plates. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world filled with massive predators. 4 eyes sat in his elongated skull, giving him nearly complete vision around his head. He moved down the ramp with confidence, his thick legs carrying his bulk easily in Earth's lighter gravity. Behind him came Talrin, a centauri. His species looked almost human, except for the silver tint to their skin and the extra joint in each arm. Centauri were known across the galaxy as explorers and scouts. Their homeworld had produced some of the fiercest creatures in known space, and they took pride in that fact. The third student Kyle noticed was Kesra, a Valorian. Her species came from a peaceful world where herbivores had won the evolutionary race. She stood only 5 feet tall, with large green eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer in different colors depending on her emotions. Right now, those colors showed nervous excitement as she took her first steps on an alien world. Over the next hour, all 20 students disembarked and went through the basic orientation. Kyle watched them carefully. Most showed polite interest in their surroundings, but he could sense their underlying assumptions. Earth was safe. Earth was easy. Earth was nothing special. He smiled to himself. They would learn. The first week passed quickly. Kyle and Lauren took the students through various exhibits at the Institute. They showed them recordings of Earth's history, samples of different ecosystems, and presentations about human evolution. The alien students took notes and asked questions, but Kyle could see they were not truly impressed. On the 8th day, the conversation turned to predators. The class had gathered in one of the large lecture halls, and Kyle had just finished showing footage of a lion pride taking down a zebra in the African savanna. The students watched with academic interest, but nothing more. Vexnal raised one of his 4-fingered hands. "Professor Morrison, this lion is your apex predator in that region?" Kyle nodded. "One of them, yes. We have several apex predators across different environments." "Interesting." Vexnal's voice carried a tone that suggested he found it anything but interesting. "On my homeworld of Krith, we have the razor spine. It stands 15 feet tall at the shoulder. Its claws can tear through reinforced steel, and its hide can withstand plasma fire from standard weapons. A single razor spine can hunt in territories of over 1,000 square miles, and nothing challenges it." Several other students murmured in agreement or added their own examples. Talrin spoke up next. "The Centauri territories have the Void Stalker. It hunts in packs and can take down prey 10 times its size. We lost hundreds of colonists to them before we developed proper defenses." Kyle listened patiently as student after student described the deadly predators from their homeworlds. Each story grew more impressive, each creature more dangerous. He noticed Lauren trying not to smile. She knew what was coming. When the stories finally ended, Kyle stood up from his desk. "Those all sound like formidable creatures. Earth's predators might seem small by comparison. Our largest land predator, the polar bear, weighs about 1,500 pounds. We have nothing that approaches 15 feet tall. Then how did humans survive? Kesra asked. Her colors had shifted to curious yellow. If your world has such dangerous predators, even small ones, how did a species without natural weapons or armor become dominant? It was exactly the question Kyle had been waiting for. That's an excellent question, and I think the best way to answer it is through demonstration rather than explanation. How would you all feel about a field trip? The students agreed immediately. Kyle could see the eagerness in their faces. They wanted to understand the human mystery, wanted to know how such a seemingly weak species had developed space travel and earned a seat on the Galactic Council. Over the next 2 days, Kyle made arrangements with Dr. Megan Torres, an old friend who worked at a specialized wildlife preserve in India. The preserve housed several Bengal tigers under observation, part of an international conservation effort that had brought the species back from the edge of extinction. On the morning of departure, the students gathered at the shuttle platform again. This time they would be taking a human transport to the other side of the planet. Vexnal seemed excited, his armor plates shifting slightly with anticipation. You are taking us to see one of your apex predators? He asked Kyle as they boarded the transport. I am, Kyle confirmed. I want you to meet a Bengal tiger. A tiger, Talrin repeated, accessing his datapad. According to the Galactic database, tigers are large felines. They average around 500 to 600 pounds in weight and measure approximately 10 feet in length, including the tail. Is this accurate? That's about right for a male Bengal, Lauren said. She sat across from Talrin, her own tablet showing similar information. Vexnal made a sound that Kyle had learned was Crithian laughter. 600 pounds? Professor, a juvenile razor spine weighs more than that. Are you certain this is your apex predator? Kyle looked at the Crithian student and smiled. I'm certain. Size isn't everything. Sometimes the most dangerous things come in smaller packages. With respect, Professor, I find that difficult to believe, Vexnal said. The laws of physics are universal. Larger predators have advantages in strength, reach, and intimidation. This is true across all worlds. Is it? Kyle asked. Well, let's go find out. I think you'll find that Earth has some surprises for you. The transport lifted off smoothly, carrying them toward India, and a lesson that Kyle knew would change how these students saw Earth forever. He had given this demonstration before to other visiting aliens, and the result was always the same. Shock, followed by a healthy dose of respect, followed by a complete reevaluation of what they thought they knew about humanity's homeworld. Lauren leaned over and whispered to him, Do you think they're ready for this? Kyle watched the alien students chatting among themselves, confident and comfortable in their assumptions. No, he said quietly. But that's exactly why we're doing it. The transport accelerated toward its destination, leaving the institute behind as the real education was about to begin. The transport descended through thick clouds before breaking into clear sky above the Indian wilderness. Below them stretched endless green forest, broken occasionally by clearings and rivers that caught the afternoon sunlight. The preserve came into view, a carefully maintained facility that blended into the natural landscape. Security fencing was nearly invisible from the air, designed to keep the animals safe rather than to cage them. Dr. Megan Torres waited for them at the landing pad. She was a tall woman in her 40s, with sun-darkened skin and sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. She had spent 20 years studying big cats, and her reputation in the field was known even beyond Earth. When the students filed out of the transport, she greeted them with a warm smile. Welcome to the Bengal Reserve, she said. I'm Dr. Torres, but everyone here calls me Megan. Professor Morrison tells me you're interested in learning about our tigers. Vexnal stepped forward, his bulk casting a shadow over Megan. If she was intimidated by his size, she showed no sign of it. We are curious, Dr. Torres. Professor Morrison spoke highly of these creatures, but we find it difficult to understand how an animal of such modest size could be considered a true apex predator. Megan's smile widened. Well, let's see if we can change your mind about that. Follow me to the briefing room. She led them into a low building constructed from local stone and wood. The interior was cool and comfortable, with one wall entirely made of glass looking out onto the forest. The students took seats while Megan activated a holographic display in the center of the room. "Before we observe a live tiger, you need to understand what you're looking at," she began. Bengal tigers are the largest of the tiger subspecies. Adult males can weigh up to 600 pounds and measure 10 feet from nose to tail. Females are slightly smaller. They are solitary hunters with territories ranging from 25 to 100 square miles, depending on prey availability. A three-dimensional image of a tiger appeared in the hologram, rotating slowly. The alien students leaned forward to study it. The image showed every detail: the distinctive orange and black stripes, the powerful muscles beneath the fur, the large paws with retractable claws. "Their primary weapons are their jaws and claws," Megan continued. "A tiger's bite force measures around 1,050 pounds per square inch. Their canine teeth are approximately 3 inches long, designed to pierce through flesh and sever the spinal cord or crush the windpipe. They have retractable claws that measure up to 4 inches in length, curved and razor-sharp." Talrin made a note on his datapad. These specifications are impressive for an Earth creature, but still modest compared to galactic standards. "The Voidstalker has a bite force exceeding 3,000 pounds per square inch." "I'm sure it does," Megan said calmly. "But let me ask you something. What's more important? Raw power or the precise application of that power?" The question hung in the air. Kesra's colors shifted to thoughtful orange. "I suppose it depends on the situation." "Exactly," Megan said. "Now, let me tell you about tiger hunting behavior. Tigers are ambush predators. They don't chase their prey over long distances like wolves, or pursue them in open ground like lions. They stalk, they wait, they study their target for weaknesses. A tiger can remain perfectly still for hours, watching a herd of deer, waiting for the exact right moment." She changed the hologram to show footage of a tiger hunting. The alien students watched as the large cat moved through tall grass, its striped pattern making it nearly invisible even in broad daylight. Every step was deliberate and silent. Every movement was calculated. "Notice the approach," Megan said. "The tiger uses terrain, shadows, and vegetation to mask its presence. Prey animals have excellent senses, but tigers have evolved to exploit every blind spot, every moment of distraction. When they strike, it's from an angle the prey never expected, at a speed the prey cannot match." The footage showed the moment of attack. The tiger exploded from cover, crossing 30 feet in less than 2 seconds. It hit a deer with its full weight, using momentum and precision to bring the animal down. The kill was fast and efficient. One bite to the throat, and it was over. Vexnal's armor plates shifted slightly, a sign of discomfort in his species. "The speed is remarkable. Tigers can reach speeds of 35 to 40 miles per hour in short bursts," Megan said. "But speed isn't their greatest advantage. It's their patience, their intelligence, and their ability to adapt their hunting strategy to different prey and situations. Every tiger hunts differently because they learn throughout their lives. They remember which techniques work and which don't. They are problem solvers." She deactivated the hologram and gestured toward the glass wall. "But enough theory. Jake Winters, our head ranger, is bringing one of our males to the observation area. You'll be able to see a tiger in person. Though I should warn you, even through reinforced glass and from a safe distance, the experience can be intense." The students stood and moved to the glass wall. Beyond it lay a large enclosure designed to mimic natural forest habitat. A small clearing was visible about 50 yards away, and as they watched, a figure emerged from the tree line. The tiger was enormous. Somehow, the statistics in the hologram had not prepared the alien students for the reality of seeing a live Bengal tiger. The creature moved with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for something so large and powerful. Each step was silent despite the tiger's weight. Its muscles moved beneath the striped fur like flowing water. The orange and black pattern was hypnotic, drawing the eye even as it helped the animal blend into the dappled forest light. But it was the eyes that made several students step back from the glass. The tiger's eyes were amber gold, and they held an intelligence that was unmistakable. This was not a mindless beast. This was a thinking, calculating predator that was currently studying them just as they studied it. Jake Winter's voice came through the speakers. He was positioned in a secure booth to the side of the enclosure. This is Raja. He's 8 years old and weighs about 550 pounds. He was born in this preserve and has never known the wild, but his instincts are intact. What you're seeing is thousands of years of evolution, refined into one of nature's perfect hunters. Raja moved closer to the glass, his gaze fixed on the group of alien students. He stopped about 20 feet away and sat down, his tail swishing slowly behind him. The casual pose was deceptive. Every student could sense the coiled power in that body, ready to explode into action at any moment. "I would like to see a demonstration," Vexnall said. His voice was quieter now, less confident. "You said tigers could bend steel?" Megan nodded to Jake, who activated a mechanism in the enclosure. A steel bar descended from above, suspended by cables. The bar was about 3 feet long and an inch thick, the kind of material used in construction frameworks. "That bar requires approximately 1,200 pounds of force to bend," Megan explained. "For reference, that's about twice the bite force of a tiger. But watch what happens." Jake operated another control, and a piece of meat descended next to the steel bar. It was attached in such a way that Raja would have to move the bar to reach the food. The tiger stood immediately, his attention locked on the prize. Raja approached the bar and studied it for a moment. Then, almost casually, he placed one massive paw on the bar and pushed. The steel bent with a loud groan, twisting under the pressure. Raja adjusted his position and pushed again, this time using his shoulder and body weight. The bar bent further, creating an opening large enough for him to reach the meat. The entire process took less than 30 seconds. The alien students were silent. Talrin checked his datapad 3 times as if the numbers might change. Kesra's colors had shifted to pale blue, the shade of shock in her species. "That's impossible," Vexnall finally said. "The physics don't work. That much force from a 550-pound animal should not be possible. And yet you just watched it happen," Megan said gently. "Tigers don't rely on brute strength alone. They use leverage, technique, and their entire body working as a coordinated system. Every muscle group contributes to the action. It's not just power, it's efficiency." Lauren spoke up from where she had been quietly observing. Earth's predators evolved in an environment of constant competition. They had to become more efficient, more clever, more adaptable, or they died out. The ones that survived did so because they maximized every advantage they had. Raja finished his meal and returned to his resting spot. He lay down in a patch of sunlight, looking for all the world like an oversized house cat. But none of the students were fooled anymore. They had seen what that relaxed exterior could unleash. "I think," Kyle said quietly, "we're ready for the next part of your education. Tomorrow, we return to the Institute. We're going to run a simulation, and I think you'll find the results very interesting." As they filed back to the transport, Vexnall paused and looked back at the enclosure. Raja's eyes followed them, golden and knowing. The Krithian students' armor plates shifted again, and this time Kyle recognized the gesture for what it was: respect, born from the first stirrings of fear. The simulation chamber occupied an entire floor of the International Galactic Studies Institute. Eric Chen, the facility's virtual reality specialist, had spent the last 15 years perfecting the immersion technology. His systems could recreate any environment with perfect accuracy, from the temperature and humidity to the behavior of individual blades of grass. More importantly, they could simulate living creatures with such precision that scientists used them to predict animal behavior in situations too dangerous or unethical to test in reality. Kyle led the alien students into the observation room that overlooked the main simulation floor. Through the transparent aluminum walls, they could see the massive empty space waiting to be filled with whatever environment Eric programmed. The students took their seats in the tiered seating, their conversations hushed with anticipation. Nicole Drake stood at the front of the room in her Unified Defense Force uniform. She was a combat analysis expert, brought in specifically for this demonstration. Her job was to study battle scenarios, predict outcomes, and understand the tactical advantages of different fighting styles. She had analyzed thousands of combat situations, both human and alien. "Good morning," Nicole said, as the last students settled into their seats. "Today, we're going to conduct an experiment. Professor Morrison mentioned that many of you described the apex predators from your homeworlds. Vexenal, you spoke about the razor spine. Is that correct?" The Crithian student nodded. "Yes. The razor spine is the most dangerous predator on Crith. Nothing survives an encounter with one." "I'd like to test that assumption," Nicole said. "With your permission, we're going to create a simulation. A razor spine versus a Bengal tiger in neutral territory. Both animals at full health and operating on their natural instincts. No interference, no advantages given to either side. Just pure predator versus predator." Vexnell's 4 eyes focused on Nicole with surprise. "You want to pit a tiger against a razor spine? The razor spine is nearly 3 times the tiger's size. It has natural armor plating. Its claws can cut through metal. This is not a fair contest." "Perhaps not," Kyle said from his seat beside Lauren. "But let's run the simulation anyway. The results might surprise you." Vexesnal looked around at his fellow students. Several of them made gestures of encouragement in their various species ways. Finally, he turned back to Nicole. "Very well. I will provide the biological data for a razor spine. But I want it known that I believe this will be a very short simulation." "Noted," Nicole said with a small smile. Eric Chen's voice came through the speakers from his control booth. "I'm accessing the Galactic Biological Database now. I've got the razor spine specifications. 15 feet tall at the shoulder, weight approximately 1,800 pounds, 6 legs with 4-inch claws on each. Armored hide 6 inches thick. Primary hunting strategy is direct confrontation and overwhelming force. Is this accurate, Vexesnal?" "It is," the Crithian confirmed. "Excellent. And I already have complete data on Bengal tigers from our own studies. Give me 5 minutes to build the environment and load the behavioral patterns." The students waited as Eric worked. On the simulation floor below, the space began to change. Trees grew from nothing, their trunks solid and real to the touch. Grass spread across the ground, and the lighting shifted to match a forest at dawn. The temperature in the observation room changed subtly as the simulation's climate control activated. Within minutes, they were looking at a perfect recreation of a dense woodland environment. "Environment complete," Eric announced. "Loading subjects now." On the left side of the forest, a shape materialized. The razor spine was massive, just as Vexnell had described. Its 6 legs ended in clawed feet, designed for traction on rough terrain. Its body was covered in overlapping armor plates that looked like gray stone. The head was broad and flat, with a mouth full of serrated teeth designed for tearing rather than precision killing. It was built like a living tank. On the right side, appearing as if it had always been there, stood the Bengal tiger. Next to the razor spine, it looked almost small, but the tiger's muscles were clearly defined beneath its striped coat, and its eyes held that same calculating intelligence the students had seen in Raja. "Simulation parameters," Nicole said. "Both animals are hungry but not desperate. They are aware of each other's presence. The razor spine has been programmed with recorded behavioral data from observations on Crith. The tiger is programmed with behavioral data from thousands of hours of studying wild and captive Bengal tigers. Neither has fought the other species before, so they will rely on instinct and adaptation. Beginning simulation in 3, 2, 1. The razor spine moved first. It had spotted the tiger immediately, and its programming identified the smaller creature as either prey or a territorial challenger. It charged forward with a roar that shook the observation room even through the soundproofing. Trees splintered under its bulk as it crashed through the forest, taking the most direct path toward the tiger. The tiger vanished. One moment it was standing in plain sight, and the next it had melted into the shadows and vegetation as if it had never existed. The razor spine reached the spot where the tiger had been and stopped, confused. Its head swung back and forth, searching for the target it had seen seconds before. "Where did it go?" Kesra whispered, her colors shifting to confused green. "Tigers are ambush predators," Lauren said quietly. "Direct confrontation is not their preferred method. Watch." The razor spine moved through the forest more slowly now, its massive head turning as it searched for any sign of the tiger. It made noise with every step, its armored body scraping against trees, its claws crunching through fallen branches. It was a creature designed to intimidate, to announce its presence, to make other animals flee in terror. Minutes passed. The tiger remained invisible. The alien students leaned forward in their seats, scanning the simulation for any hint of orange and black stripes. Even knowing where the tiger had disappeared, they could not spot it. "There," Nicole said suddenly, pointing to a section of forest on the razor spine's left flank. "The tiger has been circling for the past 10 minutes, always staying downwind, always keeping obstacles between itself and its opponent. It's studying the razor spine, looking for weaknesses." Talrin checked his instruments. The razor spine's armor is thickest on its back and sides. The only vulnerable points are the joints between armor plates, the throat, and the underbelly. But how could the tiger know that? "It doesn't," Kyle said. "Not yet. But it will figure it out. Tigers are excellent problem solvers. They observe, they test, they learn." The razor spine was growing frustrated. It roared again, a sound designed to frighten prey into revealing themselves. The tiger did not respond. Instead, it moved closer, using a fallen log as cover. The students could see it now, a flash of orange partially hidden behind rotting wood. Then the tiger struck. It came from an angle the razor spine was not watching, low and fast. Instead of attacking the armored sides, the tiger went for the back left leg, specifically targeting the joint where the armor plates met. Its jaws clamped down with tremendous force, its canines finding the gap between plates and sinking deep into flesh. The razor spine bellowed and spun, trying to dislodge the tiger, but the tiger was already gone, disappearing back into the forest before the larger creature could bring its superior size to bear. The razor spine's leg was bleeding now, not critically but enough to affect its movement. "First blood to the tiger," Eric's voice reported. "The razor spine's mobility is reduced by approximately 8%. The pattern repeated. The tiger attacked twice more over the next 20 minutes, each time targeting a different leg, each time finding the vulnerable joint, each time vanishing before the razor spine could retaliate. The massive predator was bleeding from 3 legs now, its movements slowing, its breathing labored. Vexisnal stood up from his seat, his armor plates clattering with agitation. "This cannot be accurate. The razor spine should be able to track the tiger. Its senses are acute. It should smell it, hear it, something." "The tiger is moving downwind," Nicole explained. "It's using the forest noise to mask its own sounds. And look at how it places its paws. Every step is deliberate, avoiding dry leaves and branches that might crack. The tiger is controlling every variable it can." The final attack came when the razor spine paused to rest against a large tree. The tiger had been waiting in the branches above, another fact that shocked the alien students. It dropped onto the razor spine's back, its weight and momentum driving the armored creature down. Before the razor spine could recover, the tiger's jaws found the throat, the only unarmored section of the neck visible from that angle. The bite was precise and devastating. The tiger's canines severed the major arteries and crushed the windpipe. The razor spine thrashed for a few seconds, its size and strength making even its death dangerous. But the tiger held on, using its entire body to maintain the grip, shifting its weight to avoid the desperate strikes from the razor spine's claws. When the razor spine finally went still, the simulation fell silent. The tiger released its grip and stepped back, breathing hard but uninjured. It had won without taking a single hit. "Simulation complete," Eric announced. "Total time, 37 minutes. Victor. Bengal tiger." The razor spine suffered critical damage to multiple limbs before the final attack to the throat. Cause of death: exsanguination and asphyxiation. The observation room was absolutely quiet. Every alien student stared at the simulation floor, where the tiger now sat calmly grooming itself, acting as if it had not just killed a creature 3 times its size. Vexnell sank back into his seat slowly. I demand to see your code. The simulation must have errors. This outcome is not possible. Eric's face appeared on a display screen. I'm sending the complete simulation data to your tablet now. Every calculation, every behavioral subroutine, every physical interaction. Check it yourself. The math is sound. The behavioral patterns match observed reality. The tiger won because it fought smarter, not harder. Kyle stood and walked to the front of the room. Your razor spine evolved to be the biggest, strongest predator on your world. It dominates through size and power. That's an effective strategy when you're the apex predator and nothing can challenge you. But Earth's predators evolved in constant competition. They had to become efficient, patient, and adaptable, or they died. The tiger doesn't try to match the razor spine's strengths, it exploits its weaknesses. He looked at each student in turn. This is what you need to understand about Earth. We're not the biggest, not the strongest, not the fastest, but we're survivors from a world that made us work for every advantage, and that made us very, very dangerous. The week following the simulation was unlike any Kyle had experienced in his years of teaching. The alien students approached their studies with a new intensity, asking questions that went far deeper than simple curiosity. They wanted to understand not just what Earth's predators could do, but why they had evolved such deadly capabilities. Dr. Chris Palmer arrived on the 4th day. He was an evolutionary biologist who specialized in predator-prey dynamics, and his research had taken him to dozens of worlds across the galaxy. He set up his presentation in the main lecture hall, and every student attended. Even those who had been skeptical now sat with focused attention. Evolution is not a gentle process, Chris began. His voice carried the weight of decades spent studying life's brutal competition. On every world, species develop in response to environmental pressures. Predators become more efficient at hunting. Prey becomes better at escaping. It's an arms race that never ends, with each side developing new advantages in response to the other. He activated the holographic display, showing a time-lapse representation of evolutionary change. Simple organisms gradually became more complex, developing new traits and losing others in an endless dance of adaptation. Most worlds follow this pattern to some degree, Chris continued. But Earth took it to an extreme. Let me show you why. The hologram shifted to show Earth's position in space. Earth sits in what we call the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. Perfect for liquid water and complex life. But that stability is deceptive. Earth has experienced multiple mass extinction events. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, climate shifts. Each extinction killed off the majority of species. But life always recovered, and every time it recovered, the survivors were those who could adapt the fastest. Vexes now raised his hand. My homeworld also experienced extinction events. This is not unique to Earth. You're right, Chris agreed. But let me show you the frequency. The hologram displayed a chart comparing extinction events across different worlds. Chris showed 3 major events over its history. Earth showed 5, clustered closer together in geological time. Earth's instability meant that species could never settle into comfortable ecological niches for long. They had to remain flexible, aggressive, and capable of surviving rapid change. Talrin studied the data. This would create intense selection pressure. Only the most adaptable species would survive. Exactly, Chris said. Now let's talk about what that meant for Earth's predators. I'm going to show you footage of several species, and I want you to pay attention to their hunting strategies. The first video showed a saltwater crocodile. The massive reptile lay perfectly still in murky water, looking like a floating log. A deer approached the water's edge to drink, The crocodile exploded into motion, its jaws closing on the deer's head in less than a second. The deer never had a chance to react. Saltwater crocodiles, Chris explained. They can weigh over 2,000 pounds and have a bite force exceeding 3,700 pounds per square inch. That's the strongest bite force of any living animal on Earth. They're ambush predators that can remain motionless for hours, using patience and surprise, rather than pursuit. The next video showed a leopard dragging a kill 3 times its weight up into a tree. The alien students watched in silence as the big cat used its claws and strength to haul the heavy carcass to safety, protecting it from other predators. Leopards are smaller than tigers, averaging 150 pounds, Chris said. But pound for pound, they're even stronger. They're also the most adaptable of the big cats, living in habitats from rainforests to deserts. They hunt over 90 different prey species and adjust their tactics based on what they're hunting. A third video showed a pack of wolves bringing down a moose. The wolves worked together with precise coordination, each one knowing its role without any visible communication. They separated the moose from its herd, targeted its legs to slow it down, and then went for the kill as a coordinated unit. Wolves are pack hunters, Chris explained. They use strategy, cooperation, and endurance. A wolf pack can pursue prey for hours, taking turns at the front to conserve energy. They communicate with body language, vocalizations, and scent. They're not the strongest predators individually, but together they can bring down animals 10 times their size. Kessera's colors shifted to dark blue. Every one of these hunters uses a different strategy, different tools, different approaches, but all are successful. That's the key insight, Chris said. Earth's evolutionary pressure created diversity in hunting strategies. Some predators became ambush specialists like tigers and crocodiles. Others became endurance hunters like wolves. Some became generalists that could adapt to any situation. The variety is staggering. And it all comes from that constant pressure to improve or die. Beth Richardson took over the presentation next. She was a behavioral psychologist who studied predator cognition, and her work had revealed surprising levels of intelligence in Earth's carnivores. I want to talk about what goes on inside a predator's mind, Beth said. When we think about hunting, we often imagine simple instinct: see prey, chase prey, eat prey. But Earth's top predators are far more sophisticated than that. She showed brain scans of various predators alongside comparative data from herbivores. Predators have proportionally larger brain regions dedicated to planning, problem-solving, and spatial reasoning. They need to predict where prey will go, understand complex terrain, and make split-second tactical decisions. This requires significant cognitive ability. A video played showing a tiger attempting to hunt a water buffalo. The first attack failed when the buffalo turned at the last moment. The tiger retreated and watched the herd for another hour. The second attack came from a different angle, targeting a different individual, using different terrain. This time, the tiger succeeded. The tiger learned from its failure, Beth explained. It analyzed what went wrong and adjusted its strategy. This kind of adaptive intelligence is common in Earth's predators. They don't just repeat the same hunting pattern, they innovate. Another video showed a group of lions attempting to bring down an elephant. The footage spanned several days, with the lions trying different approaches, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Eventually, they succeeded by targeting a juvenile elephant separated from the main herd during a river crossing. This took patience, planning, and the ability to learn from repeated failures, Beth said. The lions had to suppress their immediate hunting instincts and think long-term. They had to coordinate their efforts across multiple individuals. This level of cognitive sophistication is rare in the galaxy. Vexnal spoke up, his voice thoughtful. You are describing intelligence. These predators think and plan like sentient beings. Not quite at that level, Beth cautioned. But they're much closer than most species in the galaxy. Earth's predators needed to become smart to survive against prey that was also getting smarter. It's that arms race again. The smarter prey became at escaping. The smarter predators had to become at hunting. She brought up new data showing comparative intelligence across different worlds. Earth's predators clustered at the high end of the scale, significantly above the galactic average. Several alien students made notes, their earlier confidence now completely eroded. Kyle stood again and added his own perspective. Now, I want you to consider something that might seem unrelated. Kesra asked an excellent question last week. She asked how humans survived on a world with such dangerous predators. Let me show you how. The hologram shifted to show human evolution. From early primates to modern humans, the timeline displayed the gradual development of larger brains, tool use, and social cooperation. Humans are not predators in the traditional sense, Kyle said. We don't have claws or fangs or armor. We're not particularly fast or strong. But we evolved on the same world as these predators. We faced the same evolutionary pressures, and we developed something that allowed us not just to survive, but to become the dominant species. He showed footage of early human hunters working together to take down large game using spears and tactics. We became endurance hunters. We could track prey for days, outlasting anything we chased. We developed tools that extended our reach and power. We learned to cooperate in groups, sharing information and coordinating our actions. Lauren added, every trait that made Earth's predators successful, humans developed our own version. Tigers have patience and planning. We have strategy and foresight. Wolves have pack coordination. We have social structures and language. Leopards have adaptability. We have technology and innovation. The full picture was beginning to form in the alien students' minds. Talrin was the first to voice it. You evolved alongside these predators. You learned from them, competed with them, survived them. Your species was shaped by the same forces that created them. Exactly, Kyle confirmed. When you look at human behavior, our stubbornness, our refusal to accept defeat, our tendency to find solutions to impossible problems, you're seeing the result of evolving on Earth. We had to become that way, or we would have gone extinct like countless other species. Chris brought the presentation to its conclusion with one final piece of data. There's a term in xenobiology called a Deathworld. It refers to planets where the evolutionary pressure is so intense that the resulting species are unusually dangerous or difficult to handle. Earth qualifies as a Deathworld by every metric we have: high biodiversity, extreme competition, frequent environmental changes, and predators that are intelligent, adaptable, and deadly. He paused and looked at each student. You came here thinking Earth was a soft world, a garden planet where life was easy. You were wrong. Earth is one of the most hostile environments for complex life in the known galaxy. Everything here, from the smallest insect to the largest predator, evolved to survive in constant danger. That includes humanity. The lecture hall was silent for a long moment. Then Vexasnal stood slowly. His armor plates had been still throughout the presentation, a sign of deep thought in his species. Professor Morrison, I owe you an apology. I came to Earth expecting to educate humans about the dangers of the galaxy. Instead, you have shown me that we should have been learning from you all along. Kyle smiled. No apology necessary, but I'm glad you understand now. Earth might not have the biggest predators or the strongest creatures, but we have something that makes us unique. We have survivors who never stop adapting, never stop fighting, and never give up. That's true for our tigers, our wolves, our crocodiles, and our humans. As the students filed out of the lecture hall, they carried with them a new perspective. Earth was not a backwater planet. It was a crucible that forged some of the most dangerous life forms in the galaxy, and humanity was the species that had not only survived that crucible, but thrived in it. 3 months had passed since the alien students first arrived on Earth. The International Galactic Studies Institute had prepared them well, sending them home with more than academic knowledge. They carried with them a fundamental shift in perspective, a new understanding of what Earth represented in the wider galaxy. Vexnal stood before the Galactic Council Education Committee in a massive chamber on the neutral station orbiting Proxima Centauri. The committee consisted of 12 members from different worlds, each representing their species' interests in the exchange program. They had gathered to hear the final presentations from students who had spent time on various member worlds. Most presentations followed predictable patterns. Students shared cultural observations, discussed technological differences, and described interesting, but ultimately unremarkable experiences. Vexnal's presentation was scheduled last, a position usually reserved for the least interesting topics. The Crithian student activated his holographic display as the committee members settled into their seats. His 4 eyes scanned the room, noting the casual postures and distracted expressions. They expected a routine report about primitive Earth and its simple inhabitants. "Honored Committee," Vexnal began. "My thesis is titled, Redefining Apex, What Earth's Tigers Teach Us About Lethality. I spent 3 months studying Earth's ecosystem, and what I learned has fundamentally changed how I understand evolutionary biology, predator efficiency, and the nature of danger itself." A few committee members looked up with mild interest. The title was unusual enough to warrant attention. Vexnal continued. "Before I went to Earth, I believed the razor spine from my homeworld represented the pinnacle of predator evolution. 15 feet tall, armored hide, capable of overwhelming any opponent through sheer force. I was wrong. Earth has predators that could defeat a razor spine despite being a fraction of its size, and I have simulation data to prove it." Now he had their complete attention. Several committee members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from boredom to skepticism. The hologram showed the simulation of the tiger versus the razor spine. The committee watched in silence as the tiger systematically dismantled the larger predator through patience, intelligence, and precise strikes. When the simulation ended with the razor spine dead and the tiger unharmed, the room erupted in conversation. "This simulation must be flawed," one committee member said. "She was a centauri, the same species as Talrin. The size difference alone should make this outcome impossible." "I thought the same thing," Vexnal replied calmly. "I checked every line of code, every physical calculation, every behavioral subroutine. The simulation is accurate. I then reviewed over 500 hours of recorded tiger hunts from Earth's historical database. The tactics shown in the simulation match observed reality. Tigers regularly kill prey much larger than themselves using the exact strategies you just witnessed." He changed the display to show comparative data. Charts and graphs filled the space, showing predator efficiency across dozens of worlds. Earth's predators clustered at the top of nearly every metric: success rate per hunt, prey to predator size ratio, tactical complexity, and adaptability. "Earth's predators are not anomalies," Vexnal explained. "They are the product of an evolutionary environment that demanded constant improvement. Earth has experienced 5 major mass extinction events in its history, each one wiping out the majority of species. The survivors had to be the best, the most adaptable, the most efficient. This created selection pressure unlike anything found on most member worlds." He showed footage of various Earth predators: crocodiles ambushing prey from perfect camouflage, leopards dragging kills twice their weight into trees, wolves coordinating complex pack hunts, orcas using strategy to hunt seals on ice floes. Each example demonstrated intelligence, planning, and tactical sophistication that impressed even the skeptical committee members. "But here is what I found most significant," Vexnal said, his voice dropping lower. "These predators share their world with humans. Humanity evolved in the same environment, under the same pressures, facing the same deadly competition. Every trait we have found confusing about humans, their persistence, their refusal to accept defeat, their ability to solve seemingly impossible problems, all of these traits make perfect sense when you understand where they came from." The committee was silent now. Vexnal had their undivided attention. "Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They are not the fastest or the most technologically advanced, but they are survivors from a world that killed anything that was not flexible, clever, and determined. They learned to thrive in an environment where everything was trying to kill them. That makes them uniquely dangerous, not despite their apparent weaknesses, but because of how they compensated for those weaknesses." Another committee member spoke up, a representative from a high-gravity world similar to Krith. "You are suggesting that we have underestimated Earth and its inhabitants?" "I am stating it as fact," Vexnal replied. Earth is what xenobiologists call a death world. The biodiversity is extreme, the competition is brutal, and the evolutionary pressure creates species that are exceptionally difficult to predict or contain. We classify Earth as a garden world because it looks peaceful and pleasant. But that classification ignores the reality of what lives there. He pulled up data from other students who had studied on Earth. Tal Rin had submitted a report on wolverines, creatures weighing less than 50 pounds, that could fight off predators 10 times their size through sheer ferocity and refusal to retreat. Another student had studied army ants, insects that moved in coordinated swarms of millions, consuming everything in their path. A third had observed octopuses, demonstrating problem-solving abilities that rivaled some sentient species. Every ecological niche on Earth is filled with specialists who excel at survival, Vexnal said. The planet rewards efficiency, adaptability, and intelligence. It punishes complacency and weakness. This is true for every species there, from the smallest bacteria to apex predators to humans themselves. Kesra, the Valorian student, had submitted her own presentation to be included. Her focus had been on humanity's relationship with predators, specifically their domestication of wolves into dogs. The committee watched footage of humans working alongside canines, the two species cooperating as if they shared a single mind. Humans did not just survive their predators, Vexnal explained. They formed alliances with some of them. They turned wolves, one of Earth's most effective pack hunters, into companions and partners. This required understanding predator psychology, establishing trust with creatures designed to kill, and creating a mutual benefit that lasted thousands of years. No other species in the galaxy has successfully domesticated an apex predator. The implications were clear. If humans could turn deadly predators into loyal companions, what else might they be capable of? The presentation concluded with Vexnal's recommendations. The Galactic Council should revise its assessment of Earth. The exchange program should continue, but with proper understanding of what Earth represents. We should study their ecosystem not as curiosity, but as an example of extreme evolutionary development. And we should treat humanity with the respect due to survivors of such an environment. The committee deliberated for 2 hours after Vexnal's presentation. When they reconvened, the chairman spoke carefully. Your thesis is compelling and disturbing in equal measure. We will be establishing new protocols for interaction with Earth species, including stricter safety measures and revised threat assessments. We are also approving funding for a new field of study, Deathworld ecology. Earth will serve as the primary research site. Over the following weeks, other students from the Earth Exchange Program presented their own findings. Each one supported Vexnal's conclusions from different angles. The cumulative evidence was overwhelming. Earth was not what the galaxy had assumed. Kyle Morrison received the official notification 3 months after his students had departed. The Galactic Council was upgrading Earth's classification and requesting expanded educational exchange programs. More students wanted to come, more researchers wanted to study, and more diplomats wanted to understand the world that had produced humanity. Lauren found him in his office, reading the message for the 3rd time. They finally get it, she said with a smile. Some of them do, Kyle replied. Others will need more convincing. But this is a start. He thought about Vexnal and the other students, how they had arrived with certainty and left with questions. That was the best outcome any teacher could hope for, turning confidence into curiosity, assumptions into understanding. His datapad chimed with an incoming message. It was from Vexnal, sent from halfway across the galaxy. Kyle opened it and read the brief text. Professor Morrison, thank you for showing me that my world's apex predator is not the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. That honor belongs to a world that produces tigers, and the humans who learn to survive alongside them. I will never underestimate Earth again. May your teachings reach others as they reached me. Kyle smiled and began composing his reply. As he typed, he glanced at the display on his wall, showing a live feed from the Bengal Reserve. Raja, the tiger who had first opened the alien student's eyes, lay in the sun looking peaceful and content. But Kyle knew what that relaxed exterior concealed. power, intelligence, and the refined efficiency of millions of years of evolution. Lauren interrupted his thoughts. The new batch of exchange students arrives next week. 20 more from different worlds. Do you think we should start with the tiger demonstration again? Kyle considered for a moment, then nodded. It's the fastest way to break through their assumptions. Besides, I want to add something new this time. I think they're ready to learn about honey badgers. Lauren laughed. You're going to give them nightmares. No, Kyle said thoughtfully. I'm going to give them the truth. And sometimes the truth is more terrifying than any nightmare. The message to Vex is now sent successfully. Kyle stood and walked to the window, looking out at the green earth landscape. Somewhere out there, tigers hunted with patient precision. Wolves coordinated their pack strategies. Crocodiles waited in perfect ambush, and humans continued to thrive among them all. The species that had learned not just to survive but to excel in one of the galaxy's most dangerous environments. Earth might not be the largest world or the most advanced civilization, but it had given the galaxy something invaluable. A lesson in humility and a new respect for what survival truly meant. And as more aliens came to study and learn, that lesson would spread throughout the stars, changing perceptions and building bridges between species. The exchange program had accomplished its goal, just not in the way the Galactic Council had originally intended. They had sent students to Earth to teach humanity about the galaxy. Instead, those students had learned what it meant to come from a world where danger was everywhere, where evolution never stopped refining its creations, and where the most deadly predators came in all sizes. As Kyle returned to his work preparing for the next group of students, he smiled at the thought of their shocked faces when they first saw Raja. The tiger would teach them the same lesson he had taught countless others. Never judge danger by size alone, and never underestimate Earth.